Hello, dear friends of Love for Volleyball and Montreal Volleyball. I have the honor and the joy today to speak with my first volleyball player from Greece. I'm very honored and very happy to do this because I know in Greece is something very important what they make and what they have done about volleyball. And I'm speaking today with Spýros Chandrinós. How are you, Spýros?
Hi guys, I'm very good. How about you?
Fantastic. I wanted to ask you first in our conversation, Spýros, about your beginning in volleyball. What did you choose volleyball as a sport, and where and when did you start?
So, all my family plays volleyball. So, the that feeling of playing volleyball was always inside in me.
Hmm.
Of course, I tried many sports like basketball, football, everything, tennis.
Hmm.
But my heart was on volleyball since I was 6 years old.
Okay, super. And when did you play volleyball? At school, in a club? How was this story?
I live in Kalamata. My hometown is Kalamata.
Hmm.
It's not a big city, so
Hmm.
I started my first steps there until I finished school around 17, 18 years old. And
Hmm.
then I left for Athens, for the big city. But my first steps was in Kalamata.
Okay. And do you have some ideas in this time when you started to play volleyball as a schoolboy that you will someday play volleyball as your sport, as a profession, or it was only a hobby and you wanted to study other thing? How was your thoughts in this time?
I always wanted to be a good volleyball player and to play in high level volleyball because since I was a kid, I was watching, YouTube videos, live games,
Okay.
very great teams. So it was my dream since I was,
Wow.
it's very cliche, but it was my dream since I was 6 years old. At first, it was like a hobby, you cannot expect too much from a 6 years old or 10 years old kid. But from what I felt, I was feeling like I can do something, you know? Then
Mhm.
started a more serious job, and now it's my job, my official job.
I know. And tell me, please, because what I know about Greece in sports, that you have a very fanatic and crazy public crowd, and we
Yeah,
see it in basketball, for example, and football, and maybe I'm wrong, but maybe in volleyball we don't know so much about your volleyball history. And tell me,
yeah.
please, what do you know about your volleyball history? You told me your parents played volleyball, but what do you know about volleyball in Greece, and what's the story with you? You tell me right now about that you always dreamed to play
Yeah.
volleyball.
Um, from what I know and from what I have learned,
Hmm.
volleyball was one of the most famous sports in Greece
Okay.
times ago,
Yeah.
and we had like great players. We played the Olympic Games,
Yes.
European Championship, were very good ranking. So it was like a traditional sport. Football and basketball were also all-time classic, but volleyball
Yes.
was also very high in the ranking of our Greek spirit. Although here the fans, it's exactly how you said, they're crazy. They go with passion. As much passion as a player in his game, the same passion has the fan for his team to win. It's like I don't know, like a culture.
Mm. It's interesting. It's really interesting to know because outside Greece, we don't know so much about volleyball, and especially in Greece, especially in South America. So it's very interesting to me to speak with you. And I wanted to ask you, you were at school playing volleyball, and how did it go for you after you finished school? And
Yeah.
this time you're going to play to a club, or you're going to the capital. How was the story continues for you?
So I left from my hometown when I was 18. Until that time, I was playing in a club in Kalamata, the
Mhm.
local team, but I was also part of the national team of young,
Hey, yeah.
under 18 years old, under 21 years old. So since that time that I was first participated in the national team of Greece,
Mhm.
okay, I put my mind into thinking that, okay, now it's serious. Like, now I can do something. So until I finished school, I was in Kalamata. I then a team from Athens, my first team out of my hometown, was Milan. I was with Pablo Urchevich, teammates in this team.
Yes.
So it was, my first step out of my hometown. It was very important for me, and it was, when you are 18 years of your life in your hometown, like you feel safe, you know everybody, and you go straight to the capital. The first steps are sometimes difficult, and you need to find a rhythm. But everybody was very welcoming. They put me in the group very good. So it was a very good step.
Fantastic. Yes, I spoke with Paolo before. I am a very, very fantastic person.
He is.
Fantastic person, fantastic player also. And after this beginning in Athens, how was it for you to as you're saying, change from a small town to be part of a major league where the best players of the world or Europe plays? How was it for you?
Yeah.
Comfortable? Were you afraid? What was it for you in this moment?
Generally, as a character, I'm a character that fits in easy. So it was not very hard for me. Like, I always wanted to go out of my hometown to play volleyball. So making this step was very exciting for me, and I knew that this is what I wanted deep inside. But when you go and you realize the reality that Kalamata was like this, Athens is huge. So until I find the smallest, how to speak to people, how to react, I see different kinds of people, different kinds of teams. It was a bit strange, not so hard, but a bit strange to realize that now I'm making steps forward to my dream, and this is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be hard, Of course, it's supposed to be hard, but this is what I want. So it was not so hard for me. It was a bit strange, but not hard. I found it good. Also, the people that were around me were very helpful.
Okay, fantastic. And this time, or maybe before, do you have some player, for example, that you admired? I always make this question because in Chile, in my country, in the 80s, we looked around the mountains and we saw the Argentinian players, the Brazilian players, and we wanted to play like them. Do you have some idol, for example, that you wanted to emulate, or maybe not? Sometimes the player, they told me, no, I make my own history.
To be honest, I never had someone to admire.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I never thought of, to be honest, I never thought of this kind of situation. But I really trust myself. Like, it's okay.
Well, it's okay. Fantastic. I understand absolutely, because sometimes many volleyball player or soccer player, they say, I like Maradona, I like Messi, I wanted to in movement, and that's because I'm asking, because in volleyball we have many historical player or actual player, and sometimes young players wanted to attack like Leon or jump like I don't know players. That's because I was asking, and for me it's so very important to recognize all these people like you that you are making history. So for me it's very important to indicate what young players maybe think about their future. So that's what I'm asking about. If you don't have some idol and you're making your own history, it's fantastic to
exactly. That's what you said.
Super. And Spýros, tell me about what's happened after you arrived in Athens. How was it for you to play in your club? The national team came first, came later. How was it in this time for you?
So in the first division, I wasn't supposed to begin as a starter. It was, I was 19 years old, very young for a player like me to start. After a few games, I was feeling good. I was playing good. So my coach started with me in the first six of the games, and I did make a good season. Not the best, but as a 19 years old, I was playing okay, good. Then in the summer, it was my first call in the national team of men, of Greece. So it was a European championship. We were supposed to go.
Yeah.
I made rehearsal with them. It was amazing to be part of this team because you're practicing with the best Greek players, and they were everybody was older than me, more experienced. So every day, every second in this practice was helpful. Even if I didn't do anything, too much, I was just looking and admiring and taking from every person, every player, something that I thought that I was needing, I needed to do.
Yes.
This was my... And then I play one more year in the same team in Milan. So because I wanted to make a good step, I want to make sure that I'm ready to make a better step, to go somewhere for me that I was feeling was better. So I played 2 years in the same team in the first division, and then I moved to Olympiacos, that I'm now.
Olympiacos, yes. Olympiacos, we know all over the world, it's one of the most important clubs in Greece.
Yeah, the most historical one.
Yes, and Olympiacos has also basketball, football. It's a very big club in Greece.
In every sport they take part. They're very good. They're the best.
Yes, and how was it for you, beside to play with the best players of your country, to be able to play outside Greece, and to be able to play against the Russian, the Italians, the Polish players? How was it for you? How do you feel that your country would confront them?
It was like a dream because I remember myself watching these players on the TV, taking huge wins, huge cups, huge tournaments. So I'm like recognizing and realizing that these players are in front of me, are alive, are true.
Yes.
It was something magical. Even now that I play with some of the best players in the world in their time, like maybe Dragan Dravica, the setter, Salvador Hidalgo, Cuban, Tom Sexter. They are big names in the Europe volleyball, and until you realize that you're with them, it's like a dream.
Yes, it's fantastic, and I wanted to ask you about your dreams, especially, and because volleyball is different. As I suppose, for example, for football, the world champion is the most important thing, not Olympic Games, but for volleyball, the Olympic Games is the most, is the peak of our dreams. What are your dreams? Do you dream sometimes to be able to be in the podium on the Olympic Games, or you're more ground focused and we want to do something good in the European Championship, or do you dream big?
To be honest, I dream really big, but I know that to achieve this dream, we have to make some steps.
Yes.
At first, to be able to make a good tournament in the European Championship, then maybe some, World Club, World Championship, then the VNLs. There's some steps, big steps for us that we need to make. But big part of the Olympic Games is, I think, it's everyone's dream. It's like our peak, as you said, the peak of an athlete's career.
Absolutely. And how does it look for you and your team in this 2024, in this Olympic year? What does your schedule is like for your national team?
This summer, we don't really know exactly because we are not in the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly what tournament are we going to participate, if there is any tournament, because Olympic Games are in August.
Yes.
The most important tournaments for us were always in August. The European Championship, the qualifiers, everything was in this part of the year. So yet we don't know what we're gonna do.
Okay. And tell me, Spýros, about your national league. How is it? How many teams do you have in Greece? How is the level of the teams? Tell me something about this, please.
So this season we have 9 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Year by the year, as I noticed, the level is getting much higher.
Okay.
Now, as I told you, we have European stars in my team. Also, Panathinaikos. Maybe you know Panathinaikos. They're also a very good club.
Yes.
We fight every year for the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, year by year, the level in Greece is getting much higher. The money are getting higher. Very good players. I want to come. It's not all. I have my cat here. Sorry.
Yes.
It's not only about the volleyball, because it's how much passion Greece has for this sport.
Yes.
And everybody recognize, foreigners, Greeks, the fans, everybody. So Greek league for me is in the top 5 in Europe.
Okay.
Top 6. Yeah.
No, I had the opportunity to interview many players, especially from Argentina and Brazil, I think, who played in Greece, and also they played in Turkey and in Greece. You're very close, and they told me about the importance of the sometimes the private investment in sports. For example, one bank is the owner of a club. I don't know.
Yeah. In Turkey, it's like this.
And yes, and I wanted to know if Greece is similar like Turkey, or do you have some or more support from the government? How is it in Greece for volleyball, for example?
In Greece, we don't have like banks to take part in the team's decisions and sponsors.
Yeah,
we have many sponsorships, but not banks. We have big. Maybe you don't know. You really don't know the names about our sponsorships, but in Greece they're really big. In my team, every team has sponsors. It's very important for them and for us. But we don't have banks like in Turkey.
Yeah. I understand that, but there are many enterprises who are sponsored and sponsoring the sport. That's very important, because not in many countries, especially, for example, in my country, Chile, there are so few sponsors for especially for volleyball. So it's very hard to be professional in Chile and play professional. It's almost impossible. Our best players plays outside in example, in Spain. So that's what I was asking, because the story, for example, of Brazil in the 80s began so, with many great enterprises in sponsoring the volleyball. So the greatest players come to play to Brazil, and now Brazil it's the best countries in the world for volleyball. And tell me, Spýros, about your play. Your play. You are outside hitter. What is your position, and how you feel to play in this position? But for example, sometimes why I'm asking this. For example, sometimes an outside hitter or want to play in the middle. I don't know, or a middle blocker want to play as a center. I don't know. What is your opinion about this?
I think look, since I started playing volleyball, I was an outside hitter, like since I remember myself.
Okay.
And I think this position fits me good, because I can, the characteristics of an outside spiker are, reception. He has to do everything. So since I started playing more professional for national team of youngs, I was an outside spiker. I never thought of playing something else, to be honest. This was my first position, and I will finish with this. I never want to play something else.
You feel comfortable, because there are many important historical players who started in one position, then later change.
I know.
especially middle blockers, because in my time in the 80s, middle blockers played all the game.
Yes, also in the back row.
We didn't have the libero. So it was, you have to do all the things to receive, to defend. So
did you play volleyball?
I played volleyball in Chile in the 80s.
As a middle blocker?
I was middle blocker in my club. I'm not very tall. I'm short for volleyball today. I'm in meters. I'm at 1 meter and 88 centimeters. It's very small for volleyball today.
Okay.
I was on the national team in the junior national team. In the national team, I was outside hitter because I had good position, but I was too small to block. Okay, and we have the experience to play, for example, in a world championship in Italy, a junior world championship in '85, and we played against the Dutch team, and we saw these big guys like your house, 2 meters, over 2 meters, and we thought, what are we doing? We are not so tall, and our country people are not so tall, so we have this this gap for volleyball and high level. But that's because I'm asking you, because you play in the actual volleyball. It's very different from volleyball from the 80s, from the 70s. It's another sport. And I want to ask you about this, that you feel that volleyball today, our rules, the way and style of volleyball, do you like it, or maybe you think there's something missing? You have to change something. What do you think about this?
Generally, I watched volleyball all my life, and it was a time that I was watching volleyball when you were playing. Like, how was the system, and I was trying to compare to system now. Like, what is now the differences? For me, I think the system and the rules that we have to play with now are the most fair, and I don't think anything should change now. Looking back then, I think volleyball was very slow, because the side that was different. Everything was different. Everyone was very slow. Volleyball now is very fast. It's turning very fast.
Absolutely.
And the rules also, for me now, are the most equal for each team. So I would not like to change anything. I'm good with this now.
I understand. But volleyball today is sadly, for the short people like me, it's very impossible to play in a high level. Almost today, you don't have many players under 190. They're almost 2 meters high. So it's very for players to for small players, I don't know, to play in high level, because volleyball is growing in height every year. It's like basketball, for example. You're meters, you're a small player. It's crazy. But I understand. I understand this.
We have some players. I've seen some players, short, that are playing level. But to be honest, as you know, the work that you have to do as a short player is much more than a tall player, and you cannot change that. It's as it is.
It's a reality. I know. And tell me, Spýros, until now, you're very young. What has been your most memorized championship that did you have played with the national team of your club? Do you have some championship you say, okay, I was very happy in this championship? Maybe you didn't win, but you feel comfortable with yourself playing. Do you have some remembering?
Yeah, last season with Olympiacos, we won the European Cup, the Challenge Cup.
Fantastic.
We went to our Olympiacos has also a basketball team, as you know, and they have their whole fits around 15,000 people. Yeah, we usually play in our court that fits not so many. So our president decided to play the final game in this court.
Okay.
So imagine now you're in the center of 15,000 people around. Everybody was screaming. It was not. I don't know. Have you ever seen our fans in Greece?
Yes.
Like how crazy they are. Imagine 15,000 people screaming, and and you're inside, like feeling the energy. You cannot lose this game. You have to win. You were very aggressive. We were very happy, we have too much energy. We want to win. We won, but this was for me, the most. Since now, the memory that is in my mind very clear and very, strong.
Yes.
That I felt amazing.
Fantastic. I remember some Greece team that won the bronze medal in 1987. I think it was in Belgium in a European Championship. And as you told me before, there were many great players from Greece. They play at high level in Europe. In Europe, in this time. But I can remember after this, you play Olympic Games, you play World Championship. But I can remember, maybe I'm wrong, that more Greek players are playing outside your country, for example, in Brazil, I don't know, in Italy, in France. Do you have some ideas about this, and why it's this? Because you have good players, very good players. But what do you think? This maybe this reality is so.
Much of our good players back then and now are out of Greece. Yeah, it's true, and I think it's because playing out of your country is a challenge for everybody. Even if the team is equal to the Greek team that you used to play, it's also a challenge. And when you go out of Greece or out of every country, as a foreign player, the duties you have to do are more. You have more responsibility of what you have to do. You feel a pressure that is making you better either way. So that's why they also come back. They came back to Greece. They left. The new players, younger, they also left from Greece. They come back. It's like this. But the challenge is always, to be part of a good team out.
Absolutely. And Spýros, you're very young again, but I must ask you something about your future, because there's something I have talked with many players and especially with some coaches about the afterlife of a professional player. Some players end when they're 30, some players when they're 40. Today it's more easy to continue to play because the technology, and many times we use a sports shoe that was this. So I don't know. Do you have maybe sometimes thought about what you are going to be or what you're going to do after you play volleyball?
I think about it many times, because it's not always the age. Maybe some injury happen. You never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So it's been a thought in my mind lately. I was starting this season. I started to take some psychology sessions. Some lessons to take my degree in this path, because I really like psychology, and I would like, when I finish my career, to continue as athletics. I
understand.
With athletes.
Yes.
Because it's very important for athletes, the psychology, and if you have someone to talk about that was also a player and has passed through difficulties, experiences, you can trust, you can trust the process. And I think it's, for me, from what I think, the most important part of being a good volleyball player is having good psychology. The athleticism and the body, they will be there, it's more easy. But the psychology is the most important for me. So this is what I want to do.
Fantastic. What you say is very important, because you can see and you ask why, for example, many good teams or a team of good players didn't win beside other team that maybe are not so tall, so strong, but they have a mindset. They're more powerful in mind, because the work, the team building, the work with psychologists and the team. So I think what you say is so important. And also because, for example, last week I repost a post of Ivan Milkovic from Serbia, he was Olympic champion in Sydney in 2000, and he told me I also
he was also an Olympiacos player. He was playing on
I
Muchas.
know. He was a fantastic player. I know. And
Exactly.
he played in Greece. And he's a fantastic person. I have the honor to interview him also. And he told me that before he was ending his career, he studied, I don't know, marketing or some in business. And today he is helping many players to make this transition from being an active player to be outside the active volleyball. And many of the sports for the players, they keep in around the sport, because you know the sport, you love the sport.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
saying you can help the new players to be mentally more strong and to know how to make this process. It's very important. I think it's fantastic what you're saying, and I wanted to ask you about now about your life, because you're a fantastic player, you have a great future, but what do you think, or what do your family think about this? Because sometimes family didn't like that your son is a professional sportman,
Yeah.
the father wanted that your son will be a doctor, a lawyer, but
Yeah,
in your
I
case,
understand.
your father was both were.
Yeah.
But what do you think when you started to choose this life as a professional player, and what do you think now?
My father, as I told you, was also a very good volleyball player. So since I was young, I was talking to him a lot about, and he was also helping me.
Yeah.
My mother doesn't know much. She knows, but not that much.
Okay.
So she's speaking to me as a mother, not as a coach father.
Exactly.
Then, you know what I mean. So I'm very lucky because my parents were also supporting.
Yes.
Even if I wanted to, I don't know, to do nothing and sit back home and until I die, they were there to support me. They were,
Yeah.
as parents, they also have this this feeling that okay, maybe my son, maybe something happens because athleticism, professional athleticism is difficult. Some injury, maybe this stuff.
Yes.
So the idea was always to have a backup plan
Okay.
if anything happens. So as until today, they support every step of me. We
Fantastic.
discuss everything, even if they don't agree. But
Yeah.
the decision in the end is mine. So they're very helpful. I'm very lucky.
Super. Good to know. I wanted to ask you now about another subject about volleyball and Greece, because my reflection is that, for example, more likely in the past, in my times, or in the 70s, you could see, for example, that volleyball was very different from different countries. You have a volleyball in Japan was very different
Yes.
from volleyball in Russia. Russian volleyball was very different from Poland. I don't know. And today, volleyball is very similar, except, for example, from the Japanese team. Japanese.
I know.
They are small, like me, but they have a defense like nobody. They play very different as the Polish team, as the Russian team, as the American team. What do you think have Greece to offer to the world, or what do you think is the style of volleyball in Greece that you maybe think could be part of the top 10 in the world?
Yeah. So the thing that is like our best skill is it's not a skill, it's like our passion for this.
Yes.
But we work as a team, we love what we do,
Yes.
we support each other, and it's the energy that we want, that we give to our teammates and to the opponents.
Yeah.
So it's not a volleyball skill, it's a mindset.
I understand. Absolutely, but I want to add something. For example, I have also interviewed many Bulgarian players, and Bulgarian players are also very passionate. But they told me that their passion sometimes get wrong. They fight each other because they're so passionate, and they lose the focus, and they lose the way that a team must have to win.
Yeah.
the Bulgarian team are so tall, they're so strong, there are so many players, even though they're a small country. But how do you think your passion, your Greek passion, we know historical passion of Greece, we have movies, we have books about the passion in Greece.
Yeah.
The meals, we know the food, it's always full of passion. But how do you think this passion can you translate into be better in volleyball? How do you think it's possible?
During the practices and the preparation we do as a team, every time, almost every day, this passion we do and we give sometimes ends up in aggressive, some fights, some this in our style of volleyball, this helps us a lot. Like
good to know.
It's like a healthy fight. That you want to be better, you want to show them better, So during the practices that nobody is watching us, only us and the coaches, maybe sometimes we become a bit aggressive with this. It's also practice for us because when we go to the game, maybe again something happens and we need to be more aggressive between us or with opponents. So during the practice, it's something that we also practice.
Yeah.
To when we understand that we reach a level that we're about to get out of focus, to calm down, take a deep breath, and realize that we need to win. We do this a fight for good, for us, and not to destroy what we built until now.
Yes.
Maybe sometimes you see that in the situation gets out of hand, but it's not so common. Like, we know what we do, we try to focus, and it's something, as I told you, that we train in the practice also, the mindset.
I understand. Very important. And as I told you before, maybe outside Greece, we don't know much about Greece, but we have maybe some misconception. For example, movies like the 300, all this movie about the Spartans. We don't know the Odyssey of Homer. I don't know. We have maybe some misconception about the passion of the Greeks. But we are speaking in this conversation about the crowd, the crazy crowd of 50,000 spectators in a volleyball stadium. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. And give you many strength, many force to play against your rivals. That's because I'm thinking about this and trying to understand why such a country with some good players, with such a support for the players, cannot be more high in the levels of the top 10 levels in sport. That's what I'm asking you and trying to understand, because you're in Europe, we are in Chile, we are very far away from the world. And in South America, we have Brazil, Argentina, and before was Peru, and the women's today, sometimes Venezuela, sometimes Colombia, but we are very far from Europe. And you're beside all the greatest team of the world. So that's one of my questions, and trying to figure out, talking with you as a Greek volleyball player.
From what I understand, because it's now are my first steps in professional career, so I don't know much. From what I know and from what I see is that, unfortunately, I told you this before, like volleyball was a huge part of Greek, sports years ago. Now, football and basketball are taking the first place, and by far, So volleyball is not so strong nowadays in Greece. Greece. So I think it's the reason, because we are very good players, we have very good team, we work good as a team, but when we don't have the support that football and basketball has, it's like very difficult for us to be shown in the top of Europe.
I understand.
We do play good. We do have very good teams in Greece that are very high level, Champions League level volleyball. But, when you need the trust and the progress that football and basketball has, we don't have this in volleyball nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. And sometimes I knew, for example, the Polish history in volleyball, because there's football is not so good as the volleyball. Volleyball, the Polish have
Yeah.
won the world championship, BNL, I don't know, European championship, and the football no. But I know Greece has always, especially in basketball, very good teams, won European championships, world
Yeah.
championships. Even if I'm not wrong, you have a basketball player who plays in NBA.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a giant, a so big guy who plays in the NBA. So I understand what you're saying, Spýros, and I want to talk about with you about, for example, what is happening with female volleyball in Greece.
The level is good. Okay, to be honest, it's good.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they are not from the law. They are not professionals.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They are professionals. They take, they receive good money. Olympiacos also are very good teams in the female volleyball, But the problem for them is that they are not professionals by the law.
Okay.
They cannot, it's you can do it as a job, but it's not. How can I explain? Like us, men's volleyball in Greece, by the law, we work for something.
Yes.
And we have the qualifiers of the government that we work for this. Women don't have it. So they fight for it to be professional league, but it's hard for them. But the level is very good. Also, we also have good players. Maybe we have two Argentinians now in Olympiacos. Yes, maybe
Yes.
And Bianca Fariol.
For Argentina, perfectly.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes, super. They're very good players.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And Spýros, for me, as I told you outside our conversation and during this conversation, it's for me very interesting to speak with you, because one of my main intentions to make these conversations are to show the world more players and hopefully from countries like yours and I don't know, from more countries if I can, and to show the people, and especially people, young players from now, that playing volleyball is possible, being a professional is possible, and also about our history, because as we speak in this moment, Greece has a great history in volleyball, especially in Europe championship and playing in Olympic Games and World Championships. So, and for me, it's good to know that people know more about Greece and his volleyball. It's volleyball. So, I could speak hours and hours from volleyball, but I know we have things to do, and I wanted to thank you again for your time, Spýros.
No, it was my pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic, and I wanted to thank you again for your kindness to speak with me about your volleyball life. I know you are starting a very successful career, I hope, and I hope to see you in your team, with the club and your national team, hopefully sometimes in an Olympic
I
Games.
hope we can make an interview again in a few years when I become a better player.
As famous player. It will be fantastic. It will be so fantastic. And I want to thank you again, Spýros, for your time, and send you many good wishes from Chile. So far away, we are so far away from Greece.
Okay, it was my pleasure again to speak with you from Chile. It's my first time speaking with someone from this part of the world. It's amazing that a video call can get us this close.
Fantastic. And I want to thank you and especially also Pablo Urchevich from Argentina, who make this possible. So bye bye, Spýros.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.